Okay, when I need a cheering up, there's no other girl I'd have in front of me rather than Stacey. Stacey is my personal expert on the world and the wonderful world of fetish. So, Stacey, how are you surviving in this crazy time?
Oh, I think it's hilarious that you've just said that. Actually, we spoke about 1 or 2 experiences of fetishes, and now I am the expert.
You know more about those two than anyone else I know.
I just hear these random stories. I just talk to random people and get random stories, and then they kind of sometimes just
You've
sponge
met
in my
some
head.
interesting people.
Yeah, I have.
And you're dating an interesting person.
I'm dating an interesting person at the minute.
How did you meet this guy?
We're talking about this? Okay.
Why not?
Okay, so the guy that I'm dating at the minute, I met him at I met him on Tinder. I went because I recently separated from my boyfriend like 6 months ago. First time being single and new to this Tinder thing. Like, it's crazy.
Oh
my God. Yeah, it's crazy. Like,
is it easy picking? It is easy picking for women though.
Do you know what? It's so bad as well, and you feel so bad because you're judging people on their looks. Like, what's
True.
on? Yeah, and it's like, I want to be a nice person.
But that's what Tinder's about, isn't it?
Yeah, true. So anyway, I met him on Tinder and then seen him for a couple of weeks. He was only here for a couple of weeks, and then he was going to Adelaide, and he lives in London. So basically, yeah, seen him for a couple of weeks, and interesting. Like,
where's he from?
he's from Scotland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
God, the Scottish are mad.
I know.
But they're great. I've had great Scottish friends.
Have you?
Yeah. Alistair Burns, if he's watching this, I don't know, he just enlightened my world.
Why?
In just different ways. Like he'd always have these crazy schemes of how to get rich, these credit card.
Like Del Boy or something.
Yeah, and now he's like a published author, and you know he's released a few books on like mental health and just motivational books and stuff like that. And I still keep in contact with him. But one of my first friends that I had on this podcast is Scottish, and he's the head of Notre Dame University. Wow. He's an actor, and he heads up the film department there. Or doesn't head it up, but he's one of the managers. And he is also another blast. So all the Scottish guys I know, they're just great.
Yeah, one of my other managers as well, she's Scottish and she's just so down to earth and like, straightforward. Good. But yeah, so we were dating for a little bit and then went to Adelaide to see him. And then, just been a bit crazy because I've been used to a bit of like, I suppose when you've been in a relationship for 5.5 years, it gets a bit...
Was it 5.5 years?
Yeah, 5.5 years. It gets a bit like, vanilla and stuff, so it's quite interesting to start dating again and get a bit wild, but
getting a bit wild.
Not too wild.
Well, is it a wild side that you didn't think you had, or this guy's just brought it out of you?
No, I have not got any wild side. I'm okay.
We all know that's not true, and friends of Stacey are sitting there going, "What?"
I know. Yeah, no. So I.
What?
I don't know what I want to say about that.
Tell me about the leash story.
Oh, all right. So that was when I was a bit mortified because, like, you're having sex with someone and then all of a sudden he's like, I'm going to get a leash around your neck and I'm just going to, like, walk you like a dog. And I was like, what?
And this is during sex?
Yeah.
Did that sort of just... snap you out of it a bit?
I just thought, I'm pretty open-minded and clearly I'm pretty open-minded and I just think, this can go one way or the other way. You're literally like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Or okay. Anyway, I didn't do anything at that time and then I went and thought about it and, decided from there if I wanted to leash around my neck and to be walked like a dog.
In the room?
No, but
I went... Or in public?
Sorry, I didn't...
You become this furry.
Imagine that. But that probably people get dressed up as animals and things like that.
Furries, aren't they?
Sex. Is it furries?
Yeah, they're called furries.
Is that though with the horse stuff, like the horse play as well?
Well, they put on like furry costumes and they have these like gatherings and do you know I heard a really weird story about that? Is somebody complained at in an office that there wasn't kitty litter there for furries if they needed to go.
What?
Yeah. This whole woke culture, like they were like, no, we need our rights too. Wow. So what do you do with that? I don't know.
What do they do? So they're dressing up in a full furry outfit,
like fur, like dogs and bears and.
Yeah. And what does it do? Just like open up down there when you want to go to the toilet and have sex?
I think so. There must be an industry for it.
Yeah. Do you know what I heard about? I was reading about it earlier on, the spectrophilia, and that's where
ghosts.
Yeah.
When I heard that, when Stacey was enlightening me on that subject, everybody, she told me about this fetish called spectrophilia. And I straight away thought of, there was a movie called The Entity. I don't know if you ever know that.
No.
It was based off a true story of a ghost that was raping a woman.
Wow. And it's a true story.
Well, this came from a true story, and it happened. And she actually was monitored by scientists, and this thing was happening to her. And she would get these bruises appearing on her arms and around her neck. And she had 2 kids. She was a single mother. And at first they thought it was the ex-husband coming in. And one day the son caught the mother being thrown on the bed and strapped down and getting hit from this invisible force. And it went on the news and it went on in the papers, and they made a movie on it called The Entity. And so when you turned around on Facebook and you said, Wayne, there's this fetish called spectrophilia, I thought, well, it could go 2 ways. Like, what if something is doing something like that to you? Or what if it's a real hottie? What if it's this hottie from like 1950 or 60, like Elizabeth Taylor back then? And what would you do? Or is it a physical thing?
Well, most of the time from what I've read, like they can't actually see the ghost, and it's just their presence that feels so beautiful, and the relationship just feels organic, and the connection and chemistry. That's what I've read. So there was this woman who was on TV, and basically she's this counsellor. She's a spiritual guidance counsellor. She came to Australia. She met this man in the bush, this spirit in the bush, and just felt his presence. Like she said, the connection and the chemistry was just like nothing she'd ever felt before. Had sex with him in the bush. And then, just felt it and everything. Just felt him. And then fell in love with him in Australia. And then she was on the flight on the way back. She's from England. On the flight on the way back, and just so upset and sad. And then she felt his presence. And she said that ghosts normally don't follow you. They stay in their spot, and he lived in the bush. He was apparently like ancient and whatever. He'd been around years and years, and followed her back to England, and he's with her now. And they're doing this ceremony, like a marriage ceremony, but it's not obviously legal. And she was saying that like phantom pregnancies, what she's hoping is that phantom pregnancies is actually a real pregnancy, and it's a spirit baby or something like that. So she's hoping to get pregnant from this guy.
What if she does get pregnant? And no one will believe her that it was a spirit. Yeah. It is weird in the bush though, because my friend and I went up to film a documentary, and we had to do this smoking ceremony in front of all the elders. Yeah. And these 2 spirits latched on to Stev and myself, because we were males on this female land, and they hadn't had males on this female land for a while. And we could hear the crying like in the bush. We're in the middle of nowhere, and this crying, and they said these spirits apparently are searching for their long lost husbands, and it's a known thing. And so they had to get all these neighbouring like mobs to come and do a smoking ceremony when we were leaving, because they said it could cause a lot of problems for you guys when you go back to Perth.
Wow, oh, that's just giving me shit.
Yeah, and they found out I was married, and they said, Wayne, it could be really bad because this thing will go after your wife.
Is your wife okay?
Huh?
Is your wife okay?
Yeah, well, when I came back, it did freak us out, because when you have not just one elder, we had a generational thing there. And they said that these 2 spirits had latched themselves onto us. And you know what's weird is I was sitting there, and I was smoking back then, and I'd had a cigarette and was sitting there just and I looked over at the bonfire, and all the elders were there talking, and the oldest one, who was in her 90s, I think her name was Auntie Pansy, and she just turned and looked at me and looked at Steph. And she just stayed there for like 5 minutes. And I looked at, and I said to Steph, do you think we're making too much noise? Because we were just having a laugh. It was the next day. She turned around and she said, that's when I saw them. They were standing right over you. And we need to somehow do a ceremony to get these spirits away. And I looked over at my friend. He was a boomy. He was a sound guy. Yeah. And he freaked the fuck out.
He was like, I did not set up for this.
He was freaking the fuck out. It was hilarious looking back on it now. And weird things. Like we'd come back to the campsite, and it's only our sleeping bags that were infested by bull ants. No one else's. So we ended up sleeping in the car and, it was just a nightmare.
How long were you there for?
Just over a week. Every day filming in the middle of nowhere. It was an amazing experience. But I've heard way too many stories that would convince me there's two sides to that. There's a spiritual element to spectrophilia and there could be a fantasy side.
Yeah, definitely. I know that there's quite a few celebrities as well that it's happened to. Do you remember Anna Nicole Smith, was it? Yeah. So she said that she was sleeping with a ghost and he'd lift her skirt.
It wasn't that old guy, was it?
With her. Do you know, but then also, do you know, like hallucinations, like medication causes hallucinations, doesn't it? Do you know, and psychologists say, and psychotherapists say that, a lot of people, when they say they've had sex with ghosts, it's before you just go to sleep or just after you've woke up. And I've even had that, like, kind of a bit of a hallucination, when you're just nodding off at sleep and you think someone stood there or, like, like I've had that before.
But also, what about sexual dreams?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they're real, aren't they?
Yeah, I don't remember my dreams. I'm so bad.
Really?
Yeah, I always forget.
Well, it is weird because I know people that don't remember theirs at all. I used to have violent dreams.
Did you?
Yeah, really violent. I don't have many more.
Yeah.
And some of the worst ones. Like I had this one where I was driving my girlfriend home and as I turned the street, there was all these police and ambulance lights right in front of my house. So when I got there, all the people the cops were trying to keep me out of the house. And it was a house I grew up in. And I walked through this house and I could see my family slaughtered.
Oh my God.
There were like body parts everywhere. And they asked me where my girlfriend was. I said, she's in the car. I don't want her coming in. And they looked at me and said, she's not in the car. And as I went out, they're pulling her into the back of this police van with her handcuffs, and as she's going in, she just looks at me and smiles, and then I wake up in this fucking cold sweat.
Was she next to you?
Fuck? Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I just slept with one eye open that night.
But do you know these type of dreams?
Jesus.
And she used to. I always said it was like abduction sort of stuff because she would wake up over years. She would get held down in bed. And this thing would be over the top of her and it would open its mouth and this saliva would just come. But here's not the weird thing. The weird thing is when she snapped out of it and she could actually get up.
What's it called? Oh, yeah. Sorry, go on.
She would always end up with a blood nose in real. And she, I'd be lying, because I'm a night owl and I'd be watching a movie or doing something and she'd come running at about 1 o'clock in the morning out of her room and come and hug me with a blood nose. And she said, I got attacked again. And Stacey, this happened over years.
That is mad. Like regularly over years?
Regularly over years. And it only stopped. It stopped at, about 6 years ago. She hasn't had anything since we've moved here. But it was in Sydney. It was when we first moved back here. Yeah. And I don't know, but, at first it's a bad dream.
Yeah.
But the fact she would end up with blood noses, that freaked me out.
Yeah, that is really, like, the fact that she's got physical symptoms for it. Like, that's mad.
Yeah. So when I listen to spectrophilia, there could be many different sides to it.
Completely.
I wish that I had erotic dreams all the time.
It's so funny. I actually, since I went on this Tinder thing, like, guys love messaging shit like that. Like sending messages about erotic dreams and dick pics and this, that and the other.
I don't get that. I've heard of, people sending dick pics all the time. Why?
I do not get it. This is, like I said, because I'd been in a relationship for 5.5, 6 years. So this is new and, like, it happens so regularly. You text a guy after maybe, like, a couple of dates, you get a dick pic. It's like, really?
Is that a thing?
Do you not realise that my friends are going to be seeing these? Like, I ain't keeping these down.
But do you know what it is? I think it's a turn on that they send it knowing that you're going to see it.
Yeah.
It's not so much, hey, look what you've got coming. I think it's almost like, even if I don't see the fact that I've chatted to you and you've seen my privates.
Isn't it mad?
I don't get it.
Yeah, I know. And guys saying as well, like, it's happened several times now, like, send nudes, like, no.
Of who? Oh, they want you to send nudes.
And I think, You cheeky bastard.
Yeah, because once you send it, that's out there.
That's it. But I just think, isn't it mad? Like, you're not in an intimate relationship with someone and they want to show their penis and they also want you to show nudes and just be okay with that. Like, yeah, the world's just like changed in the last 6 years.
Is that what it is now, I wonder?
I think so.
Like, if you don't sleep with someone on the first date, something's wrong with you?
Surely not.
No, sure. I know. No, but I'm saying that's what we would think.
Yeah.
But what about the generation now?
I know, maybe.
I don't know. I think they're mixing that sexual relationship that is nice.
Yeah.
They're mixing that and confusing that with what you get from porn.
Yeah. Well, I suppose porn's so easy to access now, isn't it?
But they're thinking that it is like porn when it really isn't.
Yeah, nah, not whatsoever.
And I think that's where the problem is now, is that when they do get into a relationship, you know, they feel they have to perform like a porn star.
Yeah.
Or they're inadequate looking at porn stars, thinking, why don't I have a big dick like that?
Yeah.
Or why can't I do that?
Yeah.
So now they're inadequate of that. And I don't know, I think it's sort of screwed them up in a way.
Maybe I should ask, the younger generation and find out if you do. Is that the norm now? You have sex on the first or second date? Like,
I did see a meme on that. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? It's our second date. Yeah. And I haven't gone to like fourth base or something.
That would not, But
there's no challenge after that.
No, it gets boring.
Well, not from the fetishes I've heard.
No.
Like that one you spoke about. What's the one with giants?
Oh, so what was it called? Giantess or something like that? Macrophilia. So macrophilia is where you've got a desire to be with a giant, and microphilia is where you want someone miniature. And there's people that are so specific who want a 3-inch woman or a 3-inch man, or the full, not just the thing.
Really?
Yeah, they want a full person who's 3-inch. And
so we're not talking little people, like
that's
little
what
person.
That's what I thought at first. Is that a bit it's kind of sick? But it's a bit weird anyway. But it's not weird.
No, but I think that's weird. I think having
3.
No, yeah, I think that's weirder.
Yeah. How would you touch him?
With a microphone, with a magnifying glass. Yeah, but so do they get models and dolls that are that big?
Yeah, that's what I'd seen about it. And then as well, there's a lot of anime, I suppose, about it and things like that. It's a bit, and then there's giant women who are 6'6" and things like that. I don't know who's the biggest woman in the world, but anyway, and they pay these women to. There was this one guy who has these huge Lego sets, spends weeks doing these Lego sets for a big woman to go in there 3, 5, 4, 5 and
and destroy it,
just smash it up.
What the fuck?
I know, and.
What I keep thinking about is, why are they getting stimulated with that?
Yeah, I know.
That's what I'm always interested in.
Yeah,
what is it about something so small?
Yeah.
Is it that they had a toy when they were younger that became their companion because they were lonely, and then suddenly as they got older that toy left, but that fetish of that companionship was still there?
Yeah.
I don't know. Having a giant woman coming through and smashing everything.
I don't know with that one. I haven't looked into what the experts think about it, to be honest. But yeah, it's an odd one, isn't it?
I find these really odd. The things that, they have fetishes with rubber, or you get tied up. And I can understand that.
Yeah.
The dominatrix sort of thing.
And submissive.
But these are weird.
Yeah.
These are these come from something completely different.
There was the one as well about farting.
What's it called?
Ooh, farting.
Yeah, but what's it?
Okay. Oh God knows my English is terrible. I know I'm English. What's it called?
I like how you bought this notebook today.
Oh,
it's serious now, Wayne. These are the fetishes we're going to speak about.
Here and I'm just like a mushroom otherwise. I'm just what am I talking about? Eproctophilia. How the fuck do you say that, please?
Oh, eproctophilia.
Yeah. Why do they always sound like paedophile thing? You know what I mean? It just sounds like, oh.
And that is a fetish of being farted on or farting on someone.
Both, whatever float you bought. So there's this one guy as well who he would do it in public and stuff like that. So in the gym changing rooms, and he'd just get aroused off other people's
reactions.
Yeah.
Maybe, can you imagine they were hit when they were younger? Like they grew up in this super religious family where they couldn't do anything like that. And they would be locked in this cupboard, like gagged if they farted in the house because it was like a sin. So when they leave that household, those things that they were punished mostly for has now become a thing they get excited about. I don't know.
But that's what I read about it though.
Shit.
They said, what was it? Like, a lot of people they're not allowed to fart in their house, or it's like seen as so bad.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or maybe they've came from trauma.
Did they get sexually excited? They must do.
Yeah. So this guy who liked farting in public places. In the changing room, like, hey,
I love our conversation.
Yeah. And then so he met this guy online who was also interested in epitrophilia, and they met up together. They went out for dinner. They farted in the restaurant, just one connection with another, and then took her to the bedroom, farted on each other's faces.
This is so bizarre.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I can't. Do you know what though? Right? Oh my God.
It's interesting though, but it's bizarre.
Yeah. Years ago, one of my mates, she was sleeping with this guy, and they'd been sleeping together for about a year. God knows why after the story that I'm just about to tell you, but anyway, whatever. And they'd always sleep together. They'd go out on a Sunday night, and they'd always sleep together like on a Sunday night. And yeah, just a thing. And and then she'd give him a blowjob, and she said he must have had a shit on a Sunday night like that.
Oh.
And so every time she gave him a blowjob, he stunk of shit.
Oh.
Like he'd stink of shit down there. But that wasn't even the worst thing about it. And I was like, why do you do it? Do you know what I mean? And I think she just did it because she obviously really liked him. Because if someone smelled like shit, I would, Anyway, but when they'd have sex and stuff, she'd catch him, like maybe if they had sex like doggy or something like that, she'd catch him sticking his finger up his ass and sniffing it. During sex. So what's that about? Is that a fetish, or is that maybe he was into the farting thing?
I wonder if he did that while getting a blowjob, and she didn't see.
Yeah, and he stunk of shit.
I don't know where that comes from.
No, I know,
but I do understand it. I don't understand it, but I do. I've heard of that though.
Yeah,
like you hear of people, defecating and things like that, and I just don't understand that. But that is out there. But
and feces on the body and stuff like that.
I don't know where the hell that comes from.
Yeah, no.
That stuff grosses me out.
I know.
A friend of mine sent me a video once, and I actually threw up. And he knows that is something that makes me throw up.
It made me throw up as
What
well.
makes him throw up is breaking of bones, the snapping, like athletics, and you're seeing guys like suddenly he faints whenever he sees things like that. But he knows how grossed out I get. I'm really weird. I can watch stuff like operations, hunting of animals and stuff. But if you sit there in a cafe and talk to me about it and describe it, I have fainted before.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the difference then from actually seeing it to like?
I think my imagination's worse. And it's really bad because one day I was sitting in this pizza place in Sydney, and a friend of mine was telling me about how his family hunts, and they store the food and they eat the food. And I was so intrigued. Like, it didn't gross me out. I thought, well, you're hunting and you're eating. And next minute I was on the floor. And he's like, why? And the worst one was there was an amputee. I met this amputee at this. I shouldn't laugh, but I've never been in this position before. And I thought, I'm just going to ask him, as anyone would, how did it happen? Worst thing I ever did. Because as he's telling me, I feel the cold sweat coming on. So I'm thinking, I need to get out of this. But how do I get out after asking him how it happened to him? Yeah. So you know what I ended up doing is I was looking at him. I just grabbed his shoulder, squeezed his shoulder, and just walked away halfway through his story. Because I knew I don't want to faint. It was like a public do.
No.
It was like this cocktail sort of. There was a lot of, respectable people around. And the minute I asked him this question, I knew I'd made a mistake because he decided to start telling me how he got his leg amputated. And I could feel the cold sweat coming on. I didn't know what to say, so I just grabbed his shoulder, squeezed it, and just walked off.
I bet he was like, what the... Oh, is my story boring? Should it have been a bit more wild than this? Like...
How do you find, is it the internet, where you've got this weird-ass fetish, but you want to find other people that have the same? Yeah. Are these dark
There's
web forums
and stuff like that? There's a forum for that giantess thing. That was that weird word for like in giants and small people. There was a website and I clicked on it earlier on because it was called like Giant Ass City or something. And then
Giant Ass City,
something like that. Yeah, it sounds legit. And I clicked on it. And you had to sign this declaration. And I was like, nah, fuck that. Like, what am I getting myself in for?
You're now recorded as somebody who loves giants.
Yeah, oh, micro little.
There was a movie. Remember that movie back in the 50s and they had that like gorgeous lady. Everyone knows the poster.
Yeah, that's what they say. I think.
Was that what you sent me? Because I remember reading.
I sent you, I think it might have had the picture on that news article, but I think I only sent the picture. But yeah, that's all over the place for these people. It's like, they've been getting off on that for 70 years now. Like,
do you think, when you're a kid and you're always like curious about the opposite sex, even as a 5-year-old, do you think they are suddenly now put back into that position by looking at a giant?
Yeah, could be.
It always interests me on where these fetishes come from.
I know.
And the giant and the micro, like seriously, like so would their house be full of micro?
Well, it depends. It depends. And like I said, they've got a lot of. They use a lot of anime because you can't get a giant woman. Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, you could.
Like a giant though. Do you know what I mean? Like some of them, they wanted to be eaten in the giant woman's mouth. You can get a big lady.
Really?
Yeah. And there was this actual footage. I think it was on the Sun newspaper or something like on there. And there was this footage what they created in animation, and it was this girl getting swallowed in this huge person's mouth, and she's on the tongue, and the tongue's like, and this girl's like, ah! And he went, honestly, I had to turn it off. I was like, this is quite traumatic. Like, this is quite like.
I know.
I don't like it.
And is there a big community of that here?
I don't know if there's something like probably. We've probably got friends.
Yeah.
You never know though. They say 1 in 6 people has got a fetish, but that could just be a standard fetish, like the boring PD. What's it called again? BDSM. Yeah, just that. It could be just the that's
put
not boring.
On
but
a
you know
leash
what I mean?
and crawl around. Now, the guy that got you to do that. Did it come from something that he's always wanted to do and he's never been able to do?
I reckon so many people, it just comes from control, doesn't it? They want to control someone.
Because they've never had control?
Maybe. Yeah, definitely. I think everyone's different. You can't just say like everyone's like that. But from my experience with people, it seems like there's been times when they felt like they were out of control. They didn't like it, so they like to gain that control. And I suppose the bedroom is a place if you're safe with that person and you've got consent. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but you obviously have to make sure that you both have boundaries and you're both safe. And,
safe words.
Yeah, exactly.
I suppose if it's in a safe environment.
Yeah.
If it's in a safe environment, but I remember when we spoke about this before, it was also this is a fetish that you have that I didn't know you have, but where can it lead to?
Yeah.
Like, is this one of the tame ones you want me to do? Like, what if the leash on all fours leads to something where it's totally fucking out of this world?
Completely. And that's the thing with porn as well, because it's all out there. So, like, your brain shit, if you keep watching porn, you start off at, like, just the vanilla and this, that, and then, you're watching these hardcore gangbangs and someone's getting, like, having sex with a machine, and you know what I mean, like, and all these, like, your brain changes.
Yeah,
you're not going to get turned on by the normal.
That's what worries me though, because that affects the actual physical relationship that you have. So a guy that watches the weirdest shit all the time, like, does he just get turned on now by having normal sex with his wife?
Nah, I reckon
Or
definitely
even as a
not.
woman,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But do you think women have the same sort of fantasies as men?
Oh, I don't know, because I'm not inside a man's brain, but what fantasies do men have?
Well, women will always have fantasies about being with other women, right? More than what a guy would think about being with other guys.
I think that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That happens,
Yeah?
doesn't it? Yeah. I remember kissing a girl in a nightclub when I was younger. I was about 16, 17, which is a bit random. And then I was really drunk and went home and I said to my friends, I think I'm a lesbian. And
'Cause you
I
kissed
woke
a
up the
girl.
next morning. And I was like, nah, I was just drunk.
I know.
But it does happen. But I think there's a difference from fantasy to actually doing it. Like my best mate, she had this fantasy about going down on a girl and stuff. So she met this girl and went on a date with her. And we were like, what the fuck? Because she'd never been there. And we were like, well, you could be bisexual. You just don't know it yet because you've never been there with another girl and you fancy her. You're sexually attracted to her. Like, you know, so she went on a date with her, had a great time with her and it was all leading up. So she was like, yeah, I think I'm bisexual. And then she said that she did like go down on it and she said it's not like, no. She was like, yeah, this isn't for me. And left.
But that was something she'd always wanted to do.
Yeah. So the fantasy.
Wow.
The fantasy is so much better, obviously, than the real thing. Do you know what I mean?
I've heard that. I've heard that satisfaction is the death of desire.
Yeah.
So if the minute you get satisfied, it doesn't measure up to the desire.
Yeah.
Of what if this would happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's in all of this sort of stuff. Like I think a lot of, like you said, friends of ours would have these crazy fantasies that wouldn't tell anyone.
No.
But yet my friend could be he could love giants.
I know. Or farting on your face.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, no. They say that it comes from it could come from we spoke about that anyway already, didn't we?
Yeah.
Like an abusive, yeah. But I think, with the whole thing with fantasies and stuff like that, I definitely think that I've had it like a couple of times where guys have wanted, in their fantasy in their head is you having sex with someone else in front of them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when I've actually said about it afterwards,
I know
they're
a lot of guys.
No, I wouldn't actually want that. It's just like it's better in your head. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that I've heard of guys that have that fantasy a lot. But when it's actually happening, when they hire like this male stud to come into the home, like, what do they call it, a cuckold or something like that?
Yeah.
When the guy's having sex with the wife, it suddenly becomes a massive regret.
Yeah.
Because it's, suddenly you're seeing the reaction from your wife that you've never seen before.
And she's enjoying it.
Oh,
imagine that. Imagine like having this fantasy and being like, yeah, let's do it.
Do you know?
And then
I know.
Is your friend done it?
Well, I was going to say I've got friends that are a married couple and their fantasy is with another woman, like bringing a woman into the marriage. But I've got a lot of gay friends and they all turn around and say it's the worst thing you can do because eventually you could end up losing your wife because there is something there. Yeah. So once you open that door and you cross that Rubicon, there's no coming back.
Do you know what? So what, did they do it in the end? No.
Well, they've joined a site. I didn't know what the site's called. It's here in Perth. They've joined a site and they've started to meet people at the bars to sort of see which way it goes. And they haven't gone further. Yeah. These are parents as well.
Yeah. Imagine bumping into like someone coming in and it's like, just my dog got school, man. Oh yeah, do you want to come back to ours? You know where we live anyway, don't you?
Especially here, because it's such a small world.
Yeah, I know.
It's such a small community, and when you start breaking it down into fetishes, that community becomes a lot smaller, where people start to know things. But I've had like talks with the guy because I'm friends with the guy, but I'm also friends with the girl. And he was just telling me, and I've just said, man, just watch out because I know it's a cool thing, but just watch out because it could turn the other way.
Yeah. there's this girl who I know, and she works with this girl, and I don't know her, so I don't know the girl. But anyway,
she's my best friend.
Yeah, it's my brother's sister. Ask him for a friend. And what do you call it? So they went on holiday together, and the guy had been wanting a threesome for ages with another woman, and the wife's like, nah, I don't want to do it. Like, it's not for me. And anyway, they did it. They met this other woman, and I think it was in like Bali or somewhere like that. Met this other woman, and then the woman loved it. Like, actually loved it. Like, the wife loved it.
Yeah.
Came back to Perth, left her husband.
There you go.
Gone back, now in a relationship, and the woman's coming over on a visa to move in Australia.
There you go.
Like, you know,
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And
Don't do it.
that was coming from gay friends of mine that were women that were saying it doesn't always. It's like, you know, friends with benefits.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh. You got stories. You see, that works up until a stage because feelings are going to get involved. And the minute feelings start to come in on it, that's when you're going to have real problems.
But don't you think one person always gets feelings when the other person doesn't want that? Do you know what I mean? I remember seeing some guy when I first came here, and he was a friend, and we started having sex and things, and I was like, but this is it. But then when you say to someone, this is it, like, it's just as friends, it's like, I'm going to get it, like, psh, you know what I mean? Like, they're desperate to get it. And yeah, ended in, like, it ended really
Did he
bad.
start getting feelings for you?
Yeah, so I went travelling with it.
It's normally the women, I think.
Yeah, no, it was the guy.
Really?
Yeah. I went travelling with him, but I was kind of just like enjoying life. I'd just moved to Australia. My life was amazing. I was travelling.
Young,
and, you know,
single,
the last
free.
thing. Yeah. Going to festivals and just having loads of fun. And then we were sleeping together for a couple of months. And then we were at Sydney Harbour Bridge, New Year's Eve, watching the fireworks. And he turns around and tells me that he's fell in love with me. And I was like, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And I said, I love you too,
And
but as a friend.
you had nothing.
I love you too, but as a friend. And you just feel shit. Like, you just feel nasty
awkward.
and shit.
I don't know. I don't know many friends with benefit relationships that have lasted for a long, long time. Even if they are both married. Now, that's a different thing. They're both married to different partners. They've got a friends with benefits thing happening. I don't think that works.
Like an affair? Like you mean they're both married? They're
both married to separate people.
Yeah.
And yet they meet up and they have sex as friends. They'll never get together because, you know, they've got husbands and wives and kids. So, but someone is always going to establish feelings for the other.
Yeah, completely.
I always have believed that.
Completely.
Do you believe that?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So was that your story? Oh, your story with your friend?
Oh, yeah. So he said that on New Year's Eve, and then I just kind of told him straight. And then what I did from there is when we came back to Perth, because he was living in Perth, I kind of just took a back step. You know, I didn't have sex with him again and just didn't really catch up with him as much because I didn't want to hurt him. Like, he was a friend of mine. Do you know what I mean? So
it must have changed something though.
Oh, completely. Because you're having loads of fun and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, feelings. But I was the lucky one. I suppose I didn't get the feelings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It hurts when you get the feelings.
Yeah, of course it does.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he'll ever think of you the same way again.
No.
And that's why it's weird, because I've never heard it coming from the guy.
Yeah.
That's why it's cool to talk to you.
Yeah.
I've always heard the woman will get that feeling.
Yeah.
Will establish feelings first. But obviously not.
No,
not all the time. Depends.
Sometimes it depends how you connect with someone. And
do you think now he always had feelings for you?
Oh, I don't know.
And that was a great way in. And then once he was in, it's like, hey, once he was in, literally, yeah, can't go anywhere now.
Hi.
Yeah, did he? I wonder if he had those feelings before.
I don't know. Maybe I should have asked him. But, you know what happened to him? Like, he's got like the gammiest feet ever. Like, honestly, ingrown toenails, this, that, and the other. No, because it's a good fetish story. So, like, ingrown toenails, like, his feet were just disgusting. Like, hard skin. Never seen out like it in your life. Seriously, needs to go and get help about it. And there was this hot girl who's from my hometown. Like, she is so hot, gorgeous, really nice girl. And he took her home and asked her for a blowjob. And she was like, I'm not going to give you a blowjob, but I'll suck your feet. And she sucked his feet. Yeah.
Oh, she had a fetish for bad feet.
So she didn't give him a blowjob. She sucked his feet, and they were really bad, like really, really bad feet, like so bad. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know. So she obviously had a foot fetish. It was only one night stand, so I don't know anything else about her foot fetish, unfortunately.
Yeah, but Stacey, foot fetishes are normally for nice feet.
Yeah, no.
So you're saying there's fetishes out there for really bad, like hammer time feet?
I haven't looked at, but she did it, so I imagine, she can't just be one person in the world who loves it. There must be other people.
Where the fuck does that come from?
I don't know. Like, would
it be a weird thing like a dad? Like seeing a dad when she was a young girl, and then he obviously left the family, and then whenever she sees really ugly, I don't know.
I know.
That's disgusting though.
I know.
Like, who the fuck are you hanging around, Stacey? Look at your friends. Look at your circle.
He was mortified. He was absolutely...
Oh, he was mortified?
Yeah. He was like, what the fuck? Like, he didn't understand how, like...
Oh, because he was always trying to conceal his feet from people, most probably.
Yeah, he doesn't like his... I used to hammer him about his feet. I used to take the piss out of him all the time about his feet. Like, I've got massive feet for a girl. They're disgusting. They're like big, giant feet. You know what? Maybe I could make some money from this giant S thing, actually, and just get my feet out, because they are huge.
Are they?
Yeah.
Why? What size?
They're like a size 7, but they're really broad as well. No, but they're broad as well. They're just like... But
for those watching on YouTube, I'll try and put a photo up of Stacey's feet.
No, I used to be really paranoid about my feet, actually. They're so bad. Like,
oh, wow.
But yeah, he didn't like it. And he was like, wow, like, as if she wanted to... Wouldn't you rather suck my penis and
but obviously not.
Feet? But no, she didn't. She wanted the feet. She went in there.
Wow.
I know. Has anything ever happened to you where, like, you've had some
not like that? I think that the worst thing that happened to me was a really smelly vagina. And I'd always wanted to go down on a girl. And then when that happened, it just... And my friends teased me about it. It was like, I was like 17 at the time, or 18. And once I was down there, I couldn't go back up. Well, because I'd just gotten down. It was how weird, and I just, it was my first experience as a guy performing like cunnilingus on someone. So what I did is I actually blocked my nose with my 2 fingers so she wouldn't see. Oh. And then that sort of put me off, because how do you get sexually turned on after that?
Yeah, that's your first experience.
So my friends give me crap about it all the time. They still tease me about it today because they've known me forever. But no, I don't know anyone that had a crazy like fetish like that.
Yeah, no, that's
like I understand people that are attracted to people with really nice feet.
Yeah.
And nice hands. Yeah. Like I'm one of those people that will always look at someone's hands.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I never do that.
What? Looking at people's hands?
Looking at people's hands.
I just see, and another crazy fetish I've got. This may sound really weird.
Oh, we've just been talking about fat on each other's
It's not like
faces.
that. It's not like that.
Anything goes.
It's a smile. It's an upside down U smile.
Oh, really? I've got one of them, Wade.
Have you? Oh, you do too. Let's say smile.
Oh my God, everyone with a smile.
Sort of. When you smile, a lot of people's lips go up.
Oh,
These ones sort of go down. I think, who can I say has got one? Natalie Portman. I think she's got one of those smiles. Jessica Alba. Quite a few different people have that smile.
Yeah.
And whenever I see it, I don't know why. And dimples. I love dimples.
Maybe it's because it's different.
I like different.
Yeah.
Like, often symmetry is beauty, but I actually like things that are not quite symmetrical.
Yeah.
I think it's the oddity that somebody has that makes them attractive.
Yeah.
Like slight squints. You got one eye that is slightly off, not a lot.
Oh, me? Oh, I totally have.
Yeah. You do?
Yeah, this eye, Jesus.
Really?
Yeah, have you not noticed? Like, when I have to get like pictures done and stuff like that, I try and do that because I looked at a YouTube video and someone did it and the eye opens up a bit more. So yeah.
Oh, you're talking about an eyelid closer down?
Oh yeah. What's yours? What do you mean?
No, I mean the actual pupil is slightly.
No, I haven't got that. No, I've just got a saggy eye.
Yeah, well, I have too. My right eye is similar to that. So what do we say?
Oh yeah. Apparently, there's some videos and you just do this and you do it.
What, squeeze or open your eyelid?
No, like you get like it's like that angle there.
So for the listeners, Stacey has actually got her index finger and her thumb on both sides of her lower eyelid and the upper eyelid, and you're just massaging it.
No, you just squeeze. So you want to close. You want to wide wide open, and then just squeeze it down. Apparently, it opens it more. My laugh sounds so dirty.
But do you think, do you think as you get older, it get worse?
Oh yeah, no. But I suppose there's loads of injections and shit that you can get now to sort yourself out. But I'm not sure if I want to do that. I might just keep doing the eye thing and see if that helps.
Do you know, we're talking about changes in public opinion on what is beauty. You know, when you look back in, say, 1930s, it was the sort of voluptuous, sort of more heavy-set, you know, women as well. Yeah. I feel sorry for women because they've had it. They're on the magazine covers and, you know, it's what represents sort of beauty. It's like guys, the old Greek statues of what a god should look like. But yet, I think that's changing now slightly.
Yeah,
I was getting very worried when the standard of beauty was becoming more anorexic, and to me, that just looks sickly.
Yeah,
and that was a big problem.
Yeah, that was like back in the day, wasn't it? Do you remember when Victoria Beckham lost loads of weight? And there was so many.
And they're in the limelight.
Was Ally McBeal?
Yeah, Ally McBeal. She's married to Harrison Ford. Yeah. But I think it's changing now.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
And I'm so happy about it.
Yeah.
Well, because I've never liked that. I've always liked the voluptuous. You know who has a lot of that? The South Americans.
Yeah, they do.
You know, and they're proud of that beauty.
Yeah.
They're proud of that. You know, they're proud that they've got that extra booty on them. And I don't know. I think it's more healthier.
Yeah.
But what do you think? What do you think?
I think it is
for a woman.
I think it is changing. Like this whole. Did you see the video that came out a couple of weeks ago? That be a lady. They said. Oh.
Really?
Yeah, so it was like basically this woman was reading this monologue out about everything that people, you might have seen it, loads of people put it on Facebook and stuff. She was reading this long monologue out about what women should have been. So bleach your vagina and, you know, do your eyebrows, get Botox, you're looking too fat, you need to lose weight, or you're looking too skinny, are you eating anything? It was just like all these things. Don't be like the other girls, you know, like just shit that, you know what I mean? That people that you've heard so many times in your life, and it was so powerful, I thought, anyway. But then on the other hand, you know, it's so easy now to and cheap to get like Botox and
it is
and lip fillers and this, you know, like I've got close friends most of my friends have got back at home. I've got like boob jobs and Botox and lip fillers and stuff like that, and I'm
just worried about the boob jobs. In case something comes up, like I do know they had a massive recall a couple of years back on some of the latest like equipment they were using inside the silicone implants. That scares the hell out of me.
So many links to breast cancer as well, isn't there?
Yeah. I think technology will get better, but I understand it coming from a woman that has had cancer, breast cancer, and she needs to feel like that woman again and put on a bra. Yeah. But for cosmetic, likewise, to just do it because, hey, I've got small boobs, I want big boobs. I understand, but I think there's deeper issues there, don't you?
I do as well. I think as well, it's everyone's own body, and if they want to do that, like I think if you want to do that to make make yourself feel more beautiful, and then you've got the money to do it, then do it. But then I think what's happening is a lot of my friends, not loads, but a few of my friends are getting little bits done, but then they get more.
So it's not just the boobs anymore.
Yeah, no, it's like I've had the boobs done, and now. Do you know, like, I don't know, I've got fat legs at the top and I could get liposuction there, or, you know, they have these bum injections now.
I've heard.
Where you can get a big Brazilian bum and, you know, you don't have to do squats anymore. So
but I've heard that's really dangerous.
Oh, well, imagine what are they putting fat inside your ass?
Not just that. I reckon I've heard a plastic surgeon talking about how dangerous that procedure of the bum, you know, the glutes and putting that in there. Yeah. But that was my point. So it never was about the boobs.
No.
There's deeper issues there.
Yeah.
There's deeper issues of your self-worth is not how you look.
Yeah.
It goes into something deeper, which is why if it was just the boobs, they would stop at the boobs.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But not a lot. And I can't say that about everyone. I think some girls were just like, hey, ever since I was young, I wanted big boobs. And so I wouldn't mind. And in that way, I can understand it, you know.
But it gets more. But yeah, I've got a few friends. Like, we've got a friend here who's had a boob job and only a boob job. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's it. But with a lot of other people, it gets addictive. Like, I've got so many body parts that I'm not happy with and so many things that I'm not happy with. But I think, like, it's just me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, one of my mates, she's had like a bit done now, like a boob job and lip fillers, maybe Botox and stuff as well. And she said to me, I can't, like, I look back at my pictures of me and I look disgusting. It doesn't even look like me. And I'm like, no, that was you. That was what you look like. Now you're something else.
It's true.
That's not naturally you, but like, don't say that you look disgusting because you never look disgusting. Like, she's gorgeous, but you just look different now because of things that you've had done. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But to say that, I don't even look like me. Like, no, that was you.
That was you. Yeah. That's a rabbit hole though that you can go down.
I know.
That's a rabbit hole that, you know, it leads to disastrous things. And at the same time, I've always been a believer that if it makes you happy at the end of the day, then do it. But I don't believe the happiness often comes from, hey, I just need bigger breasts. I think it always goes to something a bit deeper than that.
Yeah, and do you think sometimes it is just for themselves or for other people? Do you know what I mean? To get more things from other people.
Yeah.
It's a hard world out there. And,
It is.
You know, if you've been maybe abandoned or you've been in a relationship, they've cheated on you, you want to make yourself look better, and sometimes doing it from them points rather than doing it because I want to, you know,
it's an ego thing as well.
Yeah.
It's an ego thing. And, you know, going a bit deeper than that was I've heard of this thing called the big sleep. And what it is, it's, you know, you think about our era, we haven't had a major war, a world war, or something so tragic since the 40s, all right, with World War II in that aspect. But yet you're going into this huge sleep where suddenly anything we want is you can get. So we can book a plane flight and be on the other end of the world. If you feel like whatever food, you can get it delivered to your door. Like everything. So everything's become easy. So people are now getting very annoyed, or they're getting like when somebody teases them about certain things, they get offended very easy now. Yeah. And it's because they don't have any measuring scale to measure that against. So after World War II, people were just happy to be alive and to be with family. Yeah. And I heard this marketing experiment where they said the economy needed to be picked up, especially in certain countries. But nobody was buying anything because they didn't need anything. They literally, all they had was their family. And not to know that bombs were going to be dropped on their house was good enough. Not to know that they could be shot at any time. Yeah. And the fact they were just living in peace. But it was a real problem for the economy.
Yeah, of course.
So what they decided to do is, I remember, I think it was Saatchi in England, they had these beautiful people having picnics. And they said, you're happy now, but you could be happier with this car. And the next picture would be this brand new like car with a family having a picnic. But getting back to my thing, except with this like COVID-19 and coronavirus, I was
just thinking when you were saying that.
I think people are starting to sort of go, what's important now?
Totally.
And I think people are changing in that way.
Yeah.
So what were you going to ask me?
Oh, yeah, I wanted to know. I remember you saying about you did some photography for a bit of a crazy place.
Yeah. So this, I need a new drink for this. This is a really nice beer, actually.
So nice. It's only made in Palmyra as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I'm not normally a beer drinker. I do have beer, but this is really, really nice.
So good.
Okay, so the story goes is I was working on a film set and the makeup artist introduced me and said, Wayne, do you do photography on, what sort of photography do you do? And I said, I love portraits and I love doing, it always starts that way. And I love doing portraits. And she goes, well, there's this place in Mount Lawley where this lady owns this dungeon. And she goes, I get called there to do makeup on the weirdest people, but it's really good money. And so I said, I'm in. I said, yeah, I'd be interested in that. It was about a month, 2 months later, I get this call from this lady and she says, Wayne, are you interested in coming and doing some photography? I said, hell yeah. Like, give me a yell, I'm there. I get there, this sweet old lady answers the door. She would have been in her 70s, asks me for a cup of tea. I said, yes, please. Can I have some tea? And then she leads me into this dungeon. And it's like concrete, metal and wood. It looked really good. Raw brick walls. And there was a guy there that had made a PVC suit, but it was crutchless. And they had these contraptions there where he was strung up on this thing. And so I had like strobes and everything. I just didn't take my camera. I actually had strobes, and I set up my lighting and did this shoot. And this lady, I got talking to this lady, and she goes, would you be interested in doing other stuff? I said, yeah, for sure. I said, it didn't put me off what I was photographing.
Yeah.
It was always about how cool can I make it look.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
So she said, there's this thing that happens in like City Beach area. Actually, it wasn't City Beach. It was like Peppermint Grove, one of those areas. And she said that there's this gathering that happens, and they're always after photographers. It's good money. It's only for about an hour. And would you be interested? Hell yeah. Give me a call. But while there, she was telling me about some of the clientele. She wasn't giving me any names. And she said, there's a guy that comes in, he pays $700 a fortnight he wants a table set up, silver service. That's my computer. Silver service. And so they have to set up this table with proper plates and cutlery and everything. And this girl comes in dressed in a proper dress. And what she does is she literally pours the wine, and then she walks over to this guy who comes fully dressed up, obviously super rich. And she lifts up her leg on the table, and she takes a pair of tweezers and she plucks a pubic hair and puts it on his plate, and then sits down. No sex exchange, nothing. She gets $700 for that.
I want to do that.
Well, she is... this girl's a really nice girl, and she actually has a job, and once a fortnight she goes in, plucks one pubic hair and gets $700. And that's not the only story. The other story is the guy comes in and she has to prepare this bubble bath, and he wears his Speedos, whatever. And what she does is she literally steps on his head and pushes it underwater, and then lifts it up, pushes it underwater. And this lady reckons that this girl checks her Facebook while she's doing it. Because all she does is she just checks her Facebook, and the guy just pays $700 to be dunked in the water by getting this girl to put a foot on there. So anyway, a month or two, I can't remember how long went past, and I get this call saying, look, this lady has spoken about you, and it clicked.
Yeah.
And he gives me this address with a password. So he says... It was all exciting until I got there. And then I got to this place, and there was like Mercedes-Benz and Bentleys and, these huge cars. And this guy asks me for the password, and I give it to him. He takes me into the room. Inside the entrance, he takes me left, and we get into this room, and there's a PC and a Mac all set up. And he says, what sort of cameras are you going to use and what lens? So I showed him. He said, great. He goes... your SD cards, it's one each. All we want from you is 32 photos. That's it. We'll give you $1,000, but you have to do your processing here.
Yeah.
So I was just like, oh, okay. And I said, how good do you... He goes, look, just make them reasonable. All we want is 32 pictures. Like, it's only now that he looked through all my stuff to make sure. He gave me the two cameras. I had two cameras with two lenses. And then I started to think, what the fuck am I going to be photographing? Because I'd come, you got to remember, from Mount Lawley, where I'm just thinking it was this stylized sort of guy who designed this suit and looks pretty cool. And now I'm starting to think, what am I going into here? So he leads me out, and I walk opposite this room. I look at another door, and he leads me to this door. This place was a mansion. And I opened this door to go in, and there would have been, 60 people scattered throughout this house. None of them would have been under 70. And they weren't healthy 70-year-olds. They looked like they've had a life of luxury, getting whatever they want, all naked, having vigorous sex.
Wow.
And they had masks on.
God.
I'm walking through this house upstairs. There was a grand piano. There was a piano there, and this old guy was shagging this older lady, and it wasn't romantic, like pensioner. It wasn't romance.
What's romantic pensioner sex? What do you imagine that's like?
I think it's like Sound of Music. Picnic, like this romance.
Yeah.
This was more.
Jesus.
This was more movie, and it was this hardcore, vigorous sex.
Where did they get the energy?
Sweaty. Well, there wasn't much, but it was everywhere. And I never forget walking around. For the first 5 minutes, I was in shock because friends of mine were like, Wayne, and I said it wasn't romantic at all.
I was not.
It was like your grandparents. It's like looking at your grandparents, but another side of them. Yeah. Excuse me. And so I went over through this house and I ended up going back, and I was still in shock, and I edited these 32 photos. He checked my bag. He checked everything again, checked the camera, erased everything for me because I only had 2 SD cards. He erased both of them. And he said, thank you very much, gave me $1,000 in cash, and then I left. And I was in shock. And so do you think for the next couple of months, every time I was walking through the city and any time I'd be looking at elderly people, I'd be thinking, were you there? But I never had a mask. So anyone there would have recognised who I was.
Yeah.
It got to the stage where I had been a paid writer at that time. So I was writing a screenplay over a period of a year, and I was getting paid for it. And this next funding was coming up, and the guy from Screen West gave me a call and he said, Wayne, have you got any ideas? I said, no, not really. I said, I've been doing a lot of photography. He goes, oh, what sort of stuff? And I said, because I knew him, I said, you're never going to guess. His name was Adam. I shouldn't even say that. I said, Adam, you never guess this job I had. He goes, would you be willing to do that as a story? Like a found footage sort of a thing. And I said, no. I said, because you just don't know who they obviously are very influential people.
You could go into Screen West
Perth. Well, they could be media people or anything. So anyway, he goes, just come in and pitch the idea. Change it around. But so anyway, I get there and I walk into this room and there's people that have gone before me that have given their scripts and drawings and storyboards and like pitch documents. I had nothing. And literally I get there and there's a panel of people and Adam goes, Wayne, tell them the story of what happened. Do you know, I'm at a dinner with lawyers. I'm at a dinner with lawyers with my wife, and we're having a dinner with these lawyers, and sure enough, it came up there and they're like, that was the time I actually said it for the first time and my wife didn't even know. And I brought it up at this dinner at this thing, and my wife's just looking at me going, "What?" And and everyone was just like, "What?
It's mad.
That happens here in Perth."
I know. And who are these? Just imagine, like, so many of like our friends or whatever. Granddad gives them a Werther's original, and then then goes off to this big gangbang. Like,
I know, and it makes me think that people that have had all the stimulants they've ever needed. They're multi-millionaires. They get whatever they want. And Chuck Palahniuk, he wrote Fight Club. He wrote this story once of these multi-billionaires in New York. There was this fetish that came along where they dress up, they meet in a hotel room, and they take out all these raggedy clothes and they all pee on these clothes. And then they put the clothes on and they go out as homeless people. And they go out and have sex in public and break into like stores. And these people are running the country. And it was such an interesting idea because this one reporter gets in there and he gets under this bridge and there's just these like orgies and stuff happening and people eating out of trash cans. And the guy goes, but is there anyone here that's earning under $5 billion a year? And there was silence. Who here is earning more than $2 billion? And it's like hundreds of people like, yeah. And they have found this fetish of becoming homeless people and just being unencumbered with their behaviour. Wow. And you think that would happen. Think about it.
Yeah, it could.
We're talking about these weird sexual fantasies that people come from. And you think, well, it also happens with currency.
Yeah.
Like, when you can buy anything and you get into the weirdest shit that happens after that. But yeah, so that was my...
And it's completely different to them. Do you know, they're used to getting everything they could possibly...
Yeah.
Materialistic.
But these girls that are making 700, this is without sex, don't forget. There's no sex exchange. Yeah. There's nothing. Like, seriously, who wouldn't do that?
Yeah. One of my friends, he was saying that his friend manages like a BDSM dungeon in New York, and the girls get paid a fortune in there, and they're not allowed to be touched, and there's no sex whatsoever. And he was saying that so there's one guy that goes in there who wears a nappy, and basically
he works.
He goes in there. He goes in there and pays the girls.
Okay.
He wears a nappy.
He's a client.
Yeah. Apparently, like the girl who works there said that she would date him. She said he is hot, really nice to talk to, such a nice guy. He goes in there, he puts his nappy on, goes there every week.
It's just such a... Yeah. He goes there, he's such a nice guy, puts his nappy on.
Puts his nappy on, and then but this is like, I think there's definitely probably been some trauma there. And he says, the woman says, somewhat along the lines of like his name, like say his name's Danny. Danny, go and go do now.
That's straight out of a horror film.
It might be like it's
somewhat. And he goes in his nappy.
Danny, go and do now, and then I said that wrong. Danny, go and do. Like that's the thing. Yeah. And then I've said that 3 times.
And he does it in his nappy.
Does it in his nappy, and then he has a wank afterwards.
With the nap? Oh, without the nap.
Takes the nappy. He has a shit in his nappy, and then wanks afterwards. And that's her job done. She just says that one-liner.
I have heard of those baby fetishes, though.
Yeah.
I don't know this. Yeah.
Oh, it
That's
makes
creepy,
me feel a
though.
bit sick, actually, when I think about it, because I think there's some kind of trauma. Or maybe has the mum died, or, or abandonment, or childhood sexual abuse. Like, you don't know it. There could be all different things. Like,
do you know what'd be weird? Is he some, like, high-tech business guy that's coming from Silicon Valley? And he is working at his desk, and every now and then he hears this voice going, Danny, go do. And he looks around and they're all just working, and he starts to hear it everywhere.
Danny, go do. Danny, okay.
And now he doesn't know whether it's in his mind. And see, that to me is quite creepy, like having this grown man and this girl going,
I know.
Danny going do.
But I suppose if someone offered me $700 to do it, like, would you say, Danny, go and do now for $700? Or do you think I think it might traumatise you? I don't know.
But here's a guy paying a lot of money for a girl to say that to him.
Yeah.
See, I don't, honestly, for the girls that work in that, I just think they're smart.
Yeah.
Like a girl that could do that, no exchange of sexual favours or anything, saying a couple of words, like I was telling you, that girl that dunks that guy's head, or plucks her pubic hair and puts it on there and gets $700 a fortnight. Tell me one person that wouldn't do that.
No, I know.
I'm sorry. Like when it comes down to it, whether you tell people you do or not, but $700. And it's not like you're getting naked. It's not like you're...
She's wearing a normal dress.
She's wearing a proper, probably Jimmy Choo shoes and a proper dress. Stylistic, but yet she probably wouldn't tell anyone. But tell me one girl that would go once a fortnight and check her Facebook and dunk a guy's head underwater for $700.
And it probably takes, how long is he in there? An hour? Half an hour? 10 minutes?
Less than an hour.
I know. In that other place, in what I was talking about in New York, they have something called public. So if males or females want to be humiliated like that, I suppose it's the dominant and submissive and sadism, is it? And S&M. And so then people who are in there, who are in the dungeon at the time, get the choice if they want to go and view someone being humiliated.
Wow.
And people go into the room and that's but they pay extra for the public.
Oh,
so they pay their money. I don't know whether it's like $700, and then they might have to pay an extra $200 or whatever, $300 for other people to come into the room and be humiliated with other people in the room. Isn't that mad?
Yeah. I don't
is,
know.
isn't it?
Just where does that?
Yeah, I know.
Somebody like a fictional writer will say, "Can you imagine it was like a witch back in the past burned at the stake, and yet she can't get that feeling where she was just laughing while getting burned,
Yeah.
and suddenly now she's like, 6. That was the 14th. I don't know when the witch trials were,
Yeah.
but you get these weird things. Like, where the fuck does it come from?
I know. Where do you think that it comes from? Like,
Humiliation.
yeah. Like, have they been humiliated when they've been younger, but maybe now they've got control because they're choosing to be
Yeah.
humiliated? Now it's a choice.
Well, maybe it was a girl that they really loved when they were young, and she humiliated him in public.
Yeah.
And yet that feeling of sexual attraction to being humiliated is a way he gets turned on now.
Yeah.
I remember a serial killer turning around one day and saying he had walked into his parents having sex, and he saw how much they were enjoying each other's company, but yet the orgasm sounded like torture. And apparently he had mixed then that in order to get ultimate pleasure like his parents, he had to inflict pain. And something so simple of how a 2-year-old could misinterpret the sound of an orgasm to inflicting pain in order to get pleasure, and how easy that could be.
Yeah.
And when I remember hearing that, I thought that's scary, because
that is so scary.
that suddenly wires get crossed in a kid's mind. And yet when they get a bit older, they start torturing animals, and eventually it gets to human beings. Yeah. But you can understand those wires being crossed.
Because they're young.
They're young. They don't know what an orgasm is.
Yeah.
But strange fetishes like that, like the bead. Which ones did you talk about? The beads.
So someone was telling me about like a first date, and you know, first date. These young'uns on Tinder, a first date, going home, like taking the girl, having sex, and the girl pulled some like anal beads out and put them in the guy, and I think he was a bit like, whoa, like this is a bit, but let's
whoa,
hey up,
giddy up.
Anyway, got on his saddle, and anyway, she pulled them out with like,
feces
a
on
lot of feces, So he went to the toilet and was a bit like, oh my God.
Yeah, it would be embarrassing.
Mortified as well.
Yeah.
Like, imagine that, like, first day, next thing, like, oh. And then goes back in the bedroom and she's covered herself in this feces.
So they were her anal beads?
Yeah. She was like...
so she had a scat fetish or something?
Yeah. And covered in feces. But I suppose if you're not into that, and like, for me, if I had a fetish, like, you just make sure that, like, the other person is guy and I'm into that as well. Like, just imagine just walking into a girl just like, shit all over.
I would throw up.
I'd be sick. My friend shit the bed before, and I was there in Bali. She shit the bed. She shit the bedroom, actually.
Stacey,
she shit the bedroom. Oh my God. So she got barley belly. So we went out drinking.
Oh, okay. So she was drunk with barley belly.
Yeah. But we went out drinking, and then, when you say that you're not going to have them dodgy shots in Bali because people die from cocktails and methylated spirits and things like that, but then you get really drunk and then you decide to get 10 shots for like $10. I think it's great. Anyway, got absolutely hammered. She got barley belly in the middle, went home, 5 o'clock in the morning, I wake up and there's this, like, we're both in single beds. It's like this, it's dark, the room, and I'm still wrecked. And there's this like perfectly formed poo on my bed, which looked like
your bed.
Yeah, it looked like a hog cross bone. Like, it was just perfectly shaped.
Why on your bed? Did you have both single beds?
Yeah, you had 2 single beds. So then I wake up and then I was just like, what the fuck? And then I was just hammered. So I was like, oh, I'll just deal with it tomorrow. Just fell back asleep. And then my friend woke up, and it was when I was traveling. She was like a Finnish friend, and she's like, Stacey, wake up in this like European accent. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And I look, she switches the light on. There's shit all over the floor. There's shit all over her bed. And then there's my perfectly formed hot cross bun shit on my bed. And then there was shit all over my towel. And I was traveling. So, you've only got one travel towel. It's like, them things are like, there was shit all over my Converse. Oh, it was all over. Anyway.
Not my Chuck Taylors. Not my Chuck Taylors.
I was like, oh, shit happens. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, went downstairs and I was like, can I book another hotel room for the night? He said, no, they've all booked out. So as that, I turn around, she's got all the sheets, like completely wrecked, takes all the sheets out, throws them in the skip outside, goes back, struts back in the hotel. Next day, so we sleep with no sheets on and stuff, and it stunk the bedroom. And because I was travelling, I had no perfume, so I having to spray the room with Aerogard to kind of take the smell of shit away. Next day, yeah.
No mosquitoes, but it smells like shit, yeah.
Go out the next day, come back, laid in bed, and I was like, Sophie, it still smells of shit in here, you know. She's like, no, it's all gone. I've cleaned it up, blah, blah, blah. The cleaners have been out. And I turned around. I was laid down on the bed. Turned around. The bedside cabinet was open. And there was this just piece of shit, like on top of the bedside cabinet drawer. And it was just right there. Oh, made me feel sick.
And that all came because she was drunk with Bali Belly.
Yeah, no fetishes. Sorry. I don't know why it came up. But anyway.
My story is more of a fetish, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was working at this hotel.
Yeah.
And these African-American guys, they were massive. They looked like The Rock, right? Like Dwayne Johnson. They ordered a hooker. And a hooker went in there and straight, and you know, it's an unsaid thing in the hotels. It's illegal, but it's not, if you know what I mean. So people come in and they'll come to the concierge and say, look, I'd like a girl, and they call it companionship, right? And it's up to us to sort of book them. And so we are the middle people that book, but yet really it's this agency and the client.
Yeah.
And anyway, we just felt sorry for whoever was going into that room because these guys were giants. But it was in the middle of the night.
Felt sorry for them.
Yeah, it was in the middle of the night. And all these sheets, it was like 4 a.m, all these sheets were put out the door onto the corridor and they were covered in feces. Oh. Covered. The whole thing was covered. In the morning, we got a call from room service saying, we've got to the front desk that they were going to find these people because they'd completely destroyed the room. Not just destroyed the room, that when they went into the room, there was feces covering the walls, the lampshades, everything.
Oh, my God.
So they weren't even discreet with it. It was literally, I don't know what happened. I don't know how it happened or what happened. It was disgusting.
Jesus.
And, you know, you never know what happens in hotel rooms.
No.
When you're going in there, things may look beautiful. It's because of room service has been, I mean, that's because of housekeeping has been in there and cleaned everything up. But you don't know what bed you've been sleeping in and stuff. It's working in a hotel, it gives you a whole new side of it, you know. But this was a good first time. We went from this fetish to giants to micro to spirit sex.
I know.
But there's always something to talk about. And so I'm looking forward to our next conversation.
I am as well.
So what have we got planned in the next few weeks? You said you're not, we won't go there, but is your job sort of canned for now?
No, I'm working from home at the minute.
Oh,
so that's
are?
good. Working a couple of days
Oh,
from
that is
home.
good.
So that's great. And I'm just kind of like seeing. So I started dating this guy, and he's trapped in Perth at the minute, so he can't get back. So I'm kind of just like hanging out with him and things, and it's really good. Yeah.
How good is it?
Oh, like good.
No, I hear good things about Leo.
Oh yeah.
And so I wouldn't mind getting him on.
Yeah, you should do, definitely.
Well, he sounds he's had into criminal intelligence.
Yeah, he's done some of that.
Which is fantastic. And he works as a comedian. I mean, look at those two.
I know.
No, I'd love to get Leo on.
Yeah.
So let him know at the end of this week, or if not next week.
Yeah.
Tell him we've got the whole social distance thing. You never know.
That's why we've got about 1.5 metres here, haven't we?
Yeah, we do. And I've actually sterilised everything before and after.
No.
And so, So, no, thanks a lot, Stacey.
No,
and we'll get you back in a couple of weeks and we'll talk about that.
Let's do it.
Okay, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.